Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Code Red on enravio.com.
Order the Code Red!
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Hey, folks, we're back here on Fantasy Football Code Red on enravio.com. We've got the commander back from his two-show suspension.
Hiatus.
For bullying.
Good to be back.
That's over with, by the
And
way.
to my right, the very handsome Porterhouse.
I've been working on it.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How
well?
are you, Admiral?
Doing
Commander.
well. Doing very well.
Good to be back.
Quick shout out to the lovely Christine in the booth celebrating her 30th birthday this weekend.
Big day.
Odds are pretty good we're going to sing later.
Code Red.
Odds are pretty good.
Not in tune. We need auto-tune for that. We need
Yeah,
auto-tune
really.
for that one.
There are no singers among this group. All right, listen, let's quickly wrap up Week 10. I'm excited, guys. This week is, or this season's starting to get down the stretch. Starting to get into the very exciting time of the year for us fantasy football geeks.
Well, this is really the playoff stretch drive, this next 4 weeks. You know, it's 11, 12, 13, 14, and, you know, it usually separates the guys that are making it and they get knocked out.
Yeah.
So it's a big week.
Well, fortunately, I'm doing pretty good in 3 of my 4 leagues. I probably going to make the playoffs in all 3 of them. The league that you and I are in together, I'm 5-5 and kind of hanging by a thread, but still have a shot.
No, you're in it. I mean, I'm in only 2 leagues. I have first place and an 8th place right now, so I need a miracle to come back in the 8th spot. But just the league where I drafted Trent Richardson with my first round
Yeah,
pick.
we'll
just
talk
really
about
hasn't
him
panned
later
out.
because I got to tell you, I've given up on
That's
Trent
amazing.
Richardson.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm doing well. You know, 2 teams that should make the playoffs pretty comfortably. 1 team, I'm facing a guy this week that always beats me. 1 guy in the league, I can never beat this guy.
Your
I'm playing
nemesis.
him this week, and of course, he already had Delaney Walker on Thursday.
What a
Who would have
monster.
thought? Yeah,
What a
great game.
monster.
So hopefully, I'll be able to sneak in on that one.
All right, so if you are in the hunt for a playoff spot in your fantasy league, you're going to be doing it without Arian Foster. Definitely out for the season. If you can grab Ben Tate somehow, grab him. I doubt that that's possible, but give it a shot. Mike James, we know, is now definitely out for the season. Jake Locker, you know, a backup, but Jake Locker out for the season. Fitzpatrick will be slinging the pigskin for a while, and that's...
He didn't look that bad the other night.
He didn't look that bad, but let me tell you, that's...
I mean, I'm just saying, with the buys basically over, there's be no reason that you play Fitzpatrick for any reason
Yeah.
outside of a major injury
Yeah,
on a
somebody
Friday
goes down.
before you can't get anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you shouldn't be seeing any of that.
He's a
any of
losing
that.
player.
Yeah, last week of the buys, I think, right? Dallas and St. Louis this
Yeah,
week?
no, we have 4 teams out next week.
Oh, I'm sorry, next week too, but
No
this
Buffalo,
week it's...
no
Week 12 is Cincinnati and is off. And
Yeah,
Buffalo, Philadelphia, blanking on the 4th team.
yeah.
Okay, but this week, Dallas and St. Louis, so don't forget to get all your Dallas guys out of your lineup. You probably don't have too many guys from St. Louis, possibly Zach Stacy, but just be aware of that.
Yeah, one last thing. It's kind of funny. They call a guy from Harvard a losing player. How often do you think you're going to say that? But you're right. Your facts are right, but I mean, the guy from Harvard's just a loser.
He's made a living, you know, he's done okay for himself, but
Yeah.
he just does enough to lose.
Nah,
he's one of
he's-
those guys. Like Russell Wilson just does enough to win.
Right.
He's the opposite of that.
I couldn't agree with you more. Just ironic
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you call a guy from Harvard a loser because it's right. You're actually right.
Yeah.
It's just funny how it works out.
All right, quick wrap up on Week 10. Our top performers, Drew Brees with a monster week.
Why don't we just say the Saints? Saints were
Oh,
the top
my God.
performer.
49-17
Top
over
to bottom.
Dallas. Just a butt whipping of Dallas, man. 34 for 41, 392 yards for Brees, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions.
The thing about that team at home, if they're a bully. I mean,
Yeah,
for lack of a
they-
better term, if they're able to go up on you by 2 scores, that
You're
game's
done.
over.
You're
They're going
done.
to keep throwing,
You're done.
running, and you can't keep pace with that team.
Same game, big performance last week out of Mark Ingram, 14 carries, 145 yards, touchdown, couple of receptions.
Off the bench.
Off the
Sproles
bench.
also had a huge day with a couple of touchdowns.
You know, but Ingram was very unexpected. And our next guy, Rashard Matthews, where'd that come from, man? 11 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He actually kept the Dolphins in the game on Monday night.
He was
Dolphins-
he was one of the 3 hot pickups this week. The Leonard slash,
Yeah,
a
Rainey.
Rainey guy, and then trying to think of the third guy. That was a big pickup this week, but he was one of the 3 big pickups.
No, he was a monster last week.
Yeah.
Catching balls in the slot, no one wanted to tackle him. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is Colston, guy that we've been killing.
Colston
the last
had a
couple
big
weeks.
game.
I mean, we're not going
He
to
had a big
mention he
game.
didn't have as big a game as Matthews, but he was a monster.
No,
last
he had a
week.
big game, finally.
They dusted him off and they went
Yeah,
out and
yeah.
caught a couple passes.
And
Yeah.
even Pierre Thomas had a good game. It's pretty much if you started any Saints, you got production except for
Sproles had a
the,
good game. I mean,
their
they all
backup
played
receivers.
well.
You couldn't go wrong.
Stills had a 50-yard touchdown.
He was one of my sleepers last week, and Graham was probably the most disappointing starter you'd have. The guy you'd expect to have the biggest game. They didn't need him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, Julius Thomas, 3 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Speaking of rainy, we should probably point out that we've got some severe weather conditions in a couple of cities today. We've got Chicago, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. Severe thunderstorms, lightning, heavy winds.
They're saying 60-mile-an-hour winds in Chicago, like the type of winds that could delay the game for a while.
Yeah. So if you're counting on guys like Andy Dalton and A.J. Green and Big Ben, or
If you count on a guy like a Josh McCown who doesn't have a huge arm, trying to sling it through that wind,
it's going to be a rough
no,
game.
Flacco can throw it through a brick wall.
Yeah.
But I don't think McCown's got the arm strength. You're gonna if you need a last-minute defensive pickup, one of those 6 cities may not be your worst option.
Yeah.
Because teams are gonna have to run the ball. I mean, you might be able to get some turnovers with the slop and the wet. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But these weather forecasts have been wrong too, so we'll see what
Absolutely.
happens.
Yeah, but I think they've got this one pretty much nailed down. So I'd be careful in setting my lineup today.
The Admiral and Meteorologist.
All right, man crush this week, Peyton Manning. Just another Peyton game, man. 25 for 36, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
They didn't score in the second half after the first drive. It was
Yeah.
almost eerie to watch them struggle putting the ball in the end zone.
That's going to be a great game tonight, though.
Oh, it is.
The Kansas City-Denver game tonight is going to be a must-watch. Jimmy
Expect
Graham.
the Broncos to win at home.
Yeah,
I mean, I do, but
I do.
But it's a good game.
It's a good game.
I meant to ask you before we go on. Did you use Foles as your man crush before he had the big game?
No.
You
no.
went after the
I
fact.
went
Oh,
after
okay.
that.
I wasn't sure 'cause I'm like, wow, that was a great one if you picked him.
I wish. Jimmy Graham last week had a decent game. He was kind of like the kid, looking outside from inside the candy store. He 5 catches, 59 yards, but for a
And
game.
he didn't play many snaps in the second half.
in a
either.
game where they scored 49 points, that's a very disappointing performance.
He's still not 100% yet, so that's why they didn't really use him in the second half.
If that game is remotely close, he's getting the ball thrown to him at
Yeah.
least another 5 times.
Yeah,
Dallas had 2 backup linebackers in the game. There was no way they were covering him. They just didn't need him.
yeah. And then Jamal Charles on a bye last week.
Couldn't get hurt. He didn't. He didn't play.
Who's
Now he's making-
your substitute?
I'm trying to remember who I said. I threw somebody out there last week, and I'm blanking on it. I'm blanking on it, but I did throw somebody out
I
there.
thought it would be
He's
a Jet.
He's
It
so
would be a Jet, but
consistent,
they
though.
were off, right?
Even on a
They were
bye
off
week,
last
he
week.
carried the ball for 80 yards and caught 5 catches for 70 yards.
Tonight, though, I think you'll see a different Chief team. I think they'll open it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're going to have to.
They have to score points to win that game tonight.
All right, injuries. Not too bad this week. Mike Wallace questionable. For Sunday's game against the Chargers. I think he's probably going to play. It's a tough call at this point, but we'll try to look into that later. We know we have Darren McFadden out, Rogers still out, Seneca Wallace out, which leaves us with, who is it?
Tolzien. Scott Tolzien.
I got to tell you, man, that's reaching deep.
I was shocked
If the
he actually-
Giants lose this game today, they should. I mean, there's no reason to lose at home.
No.
The Tolzien, only Jordy. Well, I mean, I know Jones is back. I shouldn't say
Listen,
only Jordy.
there's
Nelson.
only one other quarterback on the field today that's worse than this guy.
Eli.
No, well, yeah, it could be Eli, but the guy out in Oakland
Matt McGloin.
Yeah, that's going to be a disaster.
shouldn't even be on the field.
But
But
couldn't win at Penn State. Supposed to win in the NFL. Always scares me.
I think Rashard Jennings could break the record for most catches by a running back, because that's all he's going to do. Is
Yeah.
just dump the ball off to the
Yeah.
running backs. He doesn't even look downfield.
yeah, I like Jennings for this week. Jay Cutler, we know, still out. Tony Gonzalez, limited Friday.
Downgraded again. He's questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was up to probable at some point this week. Went back down to questionable. You know, when you're old and your team's 2-3 and 6,
not a lot of
2-7,
motivation.
there's no real motivation for him to play. I'd be stunned if he doesn't come back next year. I don't think he wants to go out like this, but yeah, I think I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah. Vernon Davis expected to play. Percy Harvin should be activated this week.
Should be.
Probably going to see limited snaps, but
They said 10 to 15.
you know what, guys?
That's not a lot.
If he's out there somewhere in your league,
I doubt it.
I doubt it at this
He
point.
was drafted in any keeper league after the 11th
He
round.
was, but in a lot of leagues that are not keeper leagues, he was laying out there, and I actually saw him being picked up in the last week or two. So Crabtree not playing this week. Shane Vereen is playing this week.
And he's a big, I mean, you know, he was a big part of their offense before he got hurt.
Oh,
I
he
know
had
it
a
wasn't
huge
a lot, but
game.
he
in,
catches the
his
ball out
first
of the
game.
backfield, you know, better than any of the other backs on the team. And, you know, it kind of replaces that Woodhead role a little bit.
Yeah.
on this
But
team.
but really, though, he was on the cusp of just taking that starting position
He would've
away
over
because
Ridley.
he was in that Buffalo game that he got hurt. He was in the whole second half. Ridley wasn't even on the field.
And you don't like Ridley at all. You
No,
haven't
I
liked
was
him
always
all
down on
season.
Ridley.
You've always been
He's
down
had
on
a solid second half so far, Ridley.
But
You know,
Vereen's the better
touchdown.
player.
Oh, no
Yeah.
question, no question.
The
That's
other
gonna
thing,
hurt it.
Buffalo, both starting wide receivers are out.
Yeah,
That's a mess.
that's a
Yeah.
mess.
That's a mess.
You know, Stevie Johnson usually plays well against the Jets,
Yeah.
and Woods both out. So,
Yeah.
and Manuel isn't that good.
Well, Manuel's back, but he's got nobody to throw to.
They were best when Thad Lewis was kind of running the offense.
Yeah.
That offense moved up and down the field when Thad Lewis was running it.
Your Scott Chandler sleeper might be in
I love
effect
Scott
this year.
Chandler this week. The Jets do not cover the tight end.
All
The only
right.
team worse is the Cardinals.
Jimmy Graham upgraded to probable, so put him in confidently.
Well, that's a big game today.
That's a big game. That's a big game.
Because everybody has like the 49ers like listed as a can't miss. If they lose in New Orleans, which is probable, possible I should say, and Arizona happens to win in Jacksonville, which is probable, they're both tied for that last spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know that San Francisco on paper much better than Arizona, but they'll both be 6-4, and there's a chance that happens.
And Carolina dominated them last week.
Yeah.
Dominated
Control that
them.
game.
That's going to be a good game Monday night.
Yeah.
That New England-Carolina game is going to be a good game. Steven Jackson is probable now.
He'll play.
If you have the stomach to use him, he'll probably play. Riley Cooper, good to go.
Yeah. And on fire.
And on fire.
Absolutely. I thought he would take a downward turn last week. He only had 3 catches, but 2 of them for long touchdowns.
Another guy in my league dropped him for whatever reason before that 3-touchdown game. So I
Wow.
scoffed him up because
Yeah.
we call him the KKK guy, you know. 'cause
Yep,
he's,
absolutely.
and I've been rewarded with a nice couple weeks. So
Class act. We got to like
Yeah.
a guy like that.
All right, let's go through our studs, and sleepers from last week. We're going to roll through that pretty quickly, and then we'll take a commercial break, and we'll come back with this week. Last week, my studs, Phillip Rivers, decent game, nothing spectacular. Reggie Bush, same thing, 14 carries, 105 yards, 3 catches. Really expected him to have a much bigger game last week. Emmanuel Sanders didn't do much at all, 4 catches, 13 yards, 25 rushing yards, that's a dud. And then Antonio Gates, 4 catches, 62 yards. So none of my studs really had a big week. How about you?
I didn't have any good studs either. Roethlisberger, he played 204 yards and a score. The thing was that they dominated the Bills from the line of scrimmage, didn't have to do much. Lacey had 73 yards rushing, didn't do much. Keenan Allen, 4 for 41, worst game of the year probably for Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
And then 5 for 54 for Graham, who didn't do much either. So I didn't get much out of my studs.
I did a better job with my duds. Colin Kaepernick, horrible game, 11 for 22, 91 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 45 rushing yards.
and didn't even look to. I thought he would run more.
Yeah.
Like bootlegs or roll him out. They didn't
doesn't
do any
wanna
of that.
run.
He was just dropping back and throwing. They were sacking him every
All
time.
season, he doesn't want to run at all, that guy.
Yeah.
You want to find a guy that doesn't want to get hit. Colin Kaepernick, who's built like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
It seems like he's trying to avoid running out of the pocket.
My running back, Zach Stacy, 26 carries, 62 yards, not such a good average.
And oddly enough, they won by 30 points.
Yeah, he did score a touchdown, 2 receptions for 6 yards, but not a great game out of him.
They killed the Colts, and they killed almost anybody that's still alive in a what's it called, a knockout pool.
Yeah.
That knocked out thousands of people who thought the Colts at home
There's
would
one I'm
beat the
in.
Rams
There's one I'm in. I got knocked out earlier this year, but 8 guys were left, and they all lost.
Wow.
because of that game.
So they're saying they're gonna just re-enter.
Yeah.
Those 8 guys are gonna
right,
go back for the
right.
next week. So
Everybody loved the Colts
I've
at
had
home.
that happen.
Yeah.
They lost by 30. And they were embarrassed. Tavon Austin came out, had a coming out party last week or something that was
Yeah.
fierce.
and again, he's a top. If he's out there in a lot of leagues, believe it
is.
or
Pick
not,
him up.
because he's been
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
And he's worth a flyer.
Andre Johnson was my dud receiver. 5 catches, 37 yards, which is pretty dudley, but he did have 2 touchdowns.
Which makes him
Which
relatively
makes him
studly.
pretty studly.
Yeah. No.
And then finally, Tony Gonzalez, only 3 catches, 29 yards, so that's a dud.
My duds were up in the air. Tannehill, I didn't like. He had 229, but he did get 2 scores to Rashard. So, you know, he made that happen. Frank Gore had 82 yards rushing. Nothing you to write home about. Riley Cooper, 3 for 102 and 2 touchdowns. I'd call him a stud. Heath Miller, I said, would be the guy that would be left out last week, and he was. He had 1 catch for 6 yards.
But I agree with you. Like Cooper scoring 3 touchdowns, you have to figure. I always do that.
Yeah.
That you
Figure he's
figure he
gonna-
does the Oscars. He's not a top player,
Yeah.
but he's just Foles and him are on a roll right now.
Oh, my
Like,
God.
I look at the Broncos this week, and Demaryius Thomas had 3 touchdowns last week, and I say Welker's the guy this week, or Decker, or somebody else, because is he going to have 6 touchdowns over 2 weeks?
But I have to tell you, Foles and Riley on a roll, that will continue this week against
I couldn't disagree
against
more.
Washington.
The
Really?
Eagles will have to win a home game before I buy in.
Well, that's true. They have played
Against
poorly at home.
Washington?
They do not win at home.
They
I
play
don't
poorly at
care.
The
home.
Giants
They're,
shut them out.
they're still going to put
And the
up points
Giants
today.
stink, as you know.
No, they do. Thank you for reminding me of that. My sleepers last week all pretty much sucked. Locker, Ellington, Lance Moore, Tim Wright.
Yep, yeah, Wallace got hurt really early. I also said watch Henny, who threw for 2 picks, so that was great. Mike James got hurt in about 4 seconds.
Yeah,
Right.
he's out.
Stills did well, 3 for 75
There you go, you got
and a
one.
score. And Zach Ertz, he didn't do much. So there
Took
we
a
go.
0.
I didn't really tear it up.
All right, let's throw it to Christine for commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here on Fantasy Football Code Red on InRavio.com.
And you know, Village Music Shop in Mastic. Anyway, you all know my dog, Mr. Big. Yeah. Well, Dudes and Dudettes Village Music Shop has been in business for over 37 years, serving musicians with the best products and service around. Oh, they have private lessons on all instruments and in all styles of music in their new state-of-the-art digital teaching studios with the excellent sales and service of guitars, drums, school band instruments, amps, PAs, as well as sheet music, books, and accessories. Basically, dudes, everything musical, right, Big? Yeah. Chill out. Village Music has rentals on all instruments, even PA systems for your parties and barbecues. Oh, cool. Dudes, Village Music Shop never has a sale on stuff because every day our prices are lower than all the competition. Stores, internet, whatever, guaranteed. Yeah. So come to Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Phone 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Anyway.
InRavio.com.
Oil City Skate Park, Long Island's only indoor skate park. Skateboarding, BMX, inline skating, open 7 days a week. Nearly 150 decks by Baker, Flip, Girl, Chocolate, Real, Plan B, Crimson, Zero, Element, DGK, Bogata, and more. The best in tees, hoodies, wallets, trucks, wheels, bearings, t-shirts, hats, and DVD. New York's largest Santa Cruz dealer. Introducing Jark Skateboards, Europe's best-selling deck. Oil City Skate Park, 3565 Maple Court, Oceanside, New York. Phone 516-442-0706 or go to www.oilcitysk8.com for more info.
They'll be okay.
InRavio.com. Welcome to the future of radio. InRavio.
Hey, this is Chuck from the Two Guys and the Chick Show. Check us out Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about stupid news, email bag, and all-around BS. Two Guys and the Chick Show, only on InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world.
What are you waiting for? Everyone else is advertising on the internet. Shouldn't you? Tired of small returns on phone books, newspapers, radio ads, TV ads, coupon books, direct mail? Everyone is on the internet every day. Advertise on the internet for as low as $100 a month. Over 250,000 impressions per month on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Enravio.com, and more. Go to the Advertise With Us page on Enravio.com and get started today.
Hey, we're back here on Fantasy Football Code Red. Want to remind everybody, 855-446-7284 is the phone number. We also have a question on our chat box from, who is that?
Loveyhead, a.k.a.
Loveyhead.
Steve, a.k.a. Steve.
Loveyhead.
Yeah.
All right, Loveyhead wants to know C.J. Spiller or Fred Jackson this week. I'm going to voice my opinion first because I believe that...
usually do.
I believe my opinion is the most important on this show.
I do know that. I'm aware, fully aware.
But just because I know these guys are going to disagree with me, I'm going Fred Jackson over Spiller. The Jets haven't allowed more than 75 rushing yards to a single running back this year. I just think Fred Jackson's the better play of the two. I wouldn't use Spiller unless it was a flex, and I had to.
I'm going to say Spiller only because in his career, not a long one, he's had 2 plays of over 50-yard touchdowns against the Jets. If you can get him out in space, he can outrun the Jets. And that's the only reason why I say I don't think either one will have a great day rushing the ball.
Right.
I think it'll be more about swing passes, screen passes, and maybe, little misdirection type things where maybe he gets out in space and breaks a tackle early.
You want to break the tie?
I'm going to say Fred Jackson.
I lose.
You know why? Because the Jets do have a good run defense, like we said, and he's getting all the goal line. And, unless you get, even the points per reception, I think Fred Jackson will have more catches.
I'm not saying he won't. I just think more yards will go the other way.
Yeah, no, I kind of like both guys today, but I would lean towards Jackson only because he's getting the goal line.
See, I don't like either one of them today, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd take Jackson.
Only because of the injuries to the receivers, I kind of like both.
Just my humble opinion.
Yeah.
All right, this week's studs. I am going with the red-hot Nick Foles against Washington.
I have him as a dud.
Listen, man, last 5 games, he's had 1 bad game.
I understand.
Okay? He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league over that 5-game stretch. 1,287 yards, 16 touchdowns, only 1 interception.
He has an interception?
Great run.
He's got 1, and he's playing against just a terrible Washington
I thought he had
defense.
done.
I think he's got, or he's
No,
got
he
1
fumbled.
turnover.
He
He's got
fumbled. He fumbled.
It wasn't even an interception, it's a fumble.
Yeah, he fumbled.
Okay?
And he still hasn't won the job outright yet, according to head coach Chip Kelly.
Listen,
What does he have to do?
you know what?
for
Even
40 touchdowns and no
the
interceptions?
pathetic Vikings did well against that Washington defense. I like that game for all the Eagles, and not because I've been kind of pushing the Eagles this year, but it's a good game for them, in my opinion. But you'll have a chance to for your rebuttal.
You would think that would be a high-scoring game, though, but based on
think
both
so.
defenses are playing poorly. But
Yeah. Go ahead.
Stud quarterback, Russell Wilson. At home, he plays at a different level. The Viking defense is awful.
Pathetic.
He'll be able to run. He'll be able to throw. He'll be able to do whatever the heck he wants.
Yeah, I
Russell
need
Wil-
him in a game this
I
week.
think Russell Wilson has a really big day today.
and I'll go with the RG3 in the same game we were talking about. I like a high-scoring game in that one, maybe 28, 24, 30-something.
Yeah.
And he's had a decent game against Minnesota, but everybody does. He had 3 touchdowns. But I like him to have a good game today.
Yeah,
I'll go
and my running back stud this week for the same reason is LaShawn McCoy. I just think he goes off in a big way today.
No, I think he'll have a big day. I like Ray Rice, who I liked a couple weeks ago and hasn't run well all year. This is the Bears defense. This is a Bears defense without Briggs, without the 2 starting defensive tackles.
And then if he
they can't run
doesn't do
today,
well this week, you have
you have to think about never playing him
Yeah,
again.
you really
have to
can't.
you have to put him in the Trent Richardson role.
He's a flex player right now.
At best, he's a flex player.
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
still have to play him today. I agree.
I think he's a 100-plus yard running back this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like Marshawn Lynch. I just traded for him this week.
So he better do good.
We have a yearly deadline. This guy's sort of out of it, so I gave him Le'Veon Bell. He's a protect for next year, so I'm hoping he has the big day. I also like No. Marino. I think the Denver's going to run the ball more tonight than they usually do because the Chiefs are going to come hard with the blitzes and stuff. So.
And the other thing about the Chiefs, just their free agency last year was based on trying to play against the Broncos. They went out, their first two signings were Sean Smith to be the big defensive back on the outside and Dante Robinson to be the nickel corner to go along with Flowers.
Yeah.
I think that their free agency was completely designed to try to play against the Broncos. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm saying that
we'll find
that
out
they're
tonight.
Sit there and put 5 or 6 in the box, and Manning, whose ankles are hobbled, will have no problem handing the ball off to Noshawn Marino.
And I hope to see that all night long. All right, my wide receiver stud this week, Victor Cruz against the Pack. I think he finally breaks out this week and has a very big game. This is a Packer defense that allowed Riley Cooper and Deshaun Jackson to combine for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. Green Bay still without Rodgers, so expect the Giants to have the ball, the time of possession edge. The Pack's secondary is struggling. I really think Cruz goes off.
No, I think so too. I like Pierre Garçon this week. He's my guy. To go back into your game of high-scoring shootouts, I don't think the Eagles have anybody that can cover Garçon. I mean, last week, Boykin had a huge day catching the ball.
He did.
For the Pack.
After a horrible week the week before.
And I just think that, I mean, he's every week except the week you picked him. He's been great. It's just funny. It was the only game he had with less than 8 catches and less than 12 targets was the one you had him. It's just a funny way it works out, but I think Garçon has a big day today.
Okay.
And I'm going to go, this was Porterhouse's old guy he used to use, Larry Fitzgerald. I'm going to say he finally comes through and has a big day today. And I kind of like Welker to be that guy that has the better game for Denver this week because Peyton's going to be getting rid of the ball a little quicker than usual.
Yeah. All right, my tight end stud this week. A guy that's kind of under the radar a little bit. When you're at a position where you've got Jimmy Graham and Gronkowski and Vernon Davis and a lot of other decent tight ends, Jordan Reed is just really stepping up his game and getting 9 targets a game in the last 4 weeks. He's going to be an important part of that short game against the Eagles. As you said, I think Garçon's going to spread the field a little bit, and I think you're going to see a lot of Jordan Reed underneath.
And he looks great.
He does. He's a stud. I got Chandler again for the Bills against the Jets. I think that the Jets can never cover a tight end. I know they were raving about Antonio Allen after Gronkowski had like 9 catches, and they raved about how well he did against them.
Well, I guess he had
That's
a
why
pick
they signed
6 in that
Reed.
game, so they made it look better.
Yeah, he had a big 6. Gronkowski dropped 2 balls, could have gotten to the end zone. He fell at the 1-yard line once. I think that Chandler has a pretty nice game. I think he's Manuel's only target today, and I think he catches 8 or 9 balls.
I'm going to go with the guy that's been asleep for the last half of the season, Jordan Cameron. He had a great game against them last time, 10 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown, so I'm going to say he comes back from the dead and has a good game today.
I think the weather helps him out today. I think they don't go to the outside as much and go to, tight end over the middle a little bit more.
But he was a top 5 tight end the first 4 weeks of the season, and then he's just
he kind of
disappeared.
fell off the cliff for a while. All right, Doug.
Well, actually, Josh Gordon came in, and that was it.
Well,
He got all the bad.
That
really hurt him a lot.
Yeah, more than you would think.
Yeah. All right, my dud quarterback this week, and I love saying this guy's name as a dud, but Tom Brady against Carolina. We all saw what the Panthers did to Kaepernick last week. I really like Carolina right now. I really do. I think Carolina's going to give them fits, and I think Brady's going to have a tough game.
If you can play defense in the NFL, your team's going to be good.
Yeah.
Because not too many teams play defense anymore.
Or
can play, allowed to play defense at least with the rules.
I sit back here, week 4. 3 were sitting across the way saying, no way the Giants could lose to Carolina. They're both winless. Giants are a much better team. Carolina hasn't looked back.
They haven't.
They blew out the Giants and haven't looked back.
They haven't looked back.
Brady is better than Kaepernick.
No, you got to say that.
But I don't know if he's going to keep them to nothing, but I think that the Panther defense
I don't think
is
he's going to have as
outstanding.
bad a game as Kaepernick had last week, but I don't think he's going to have a good game.
No, I mean, Luke Kuechly is all over the field.
I don't have Brady as a top 10 quarterback this week.
I don't think so either. I'm going to go with Foles. I'm going to go against you. I think he's going to get picked a couple times today. And I'm not saying he's not going to put up 290, 300 yards and put up a couple scores. I just don't think he's going to have the miraculous day. Last week, 2 of his touchdowns could have been intercepted. They were just batted up in the air for him.
That's true.
And win a game at
But
home.
I'd rather be lucky than good.
Win a game at home.
Especially in fantasy.
And yeah, you're right. Win a game at home, and I'll start picking the Eagles to do something with their players at home. Until that time, nah, I'm not there.
How about you?
I'll go with Stafford in Pittsburgh on the road.
Bad weather.
Could be a bad weather game. He's played well this year. He's been one of probably the top, at least the fifth guy, probably, right? Overall, he's had a very good
he's
year.
having a good year.
Been solid. But he does have his blow-up games where he's horrible, so I'll say maybe it's this week.
This could be the week.
All right, my dud running back this week is Maurice Jones-Drew against the Cardinals. The guy ran the ball 21 times last week for 41 yards. This week he faces that Cardinals defense, which is just, becoming one of the best defenses in the league. And I don't think they're going to have any trouble getting to the quarterback, filling the gaps in the running game. And I think Drew's in for a rough go.
I'm going to go against my guy and say that Ivory has a tough game for the Jets. I think that the Jets are going to, I think that they're going to dare Geno to throw it, and he's going to have to throw it to win. And I think they're going to sit back and not let Ivory do anything. I think that Powell will have the bigger day of the two running backs today.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to, believe it or not, go with Adrian Peterson as my dud.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seattle, huh?
I mean, last year against Seattle, he had a great game.
He
He had
did.
a big yardage, but I don't
Last
think...
year they were a playoff team, too.
Right, they were better. They do play better with Ponder in the lineup, which you've seen that. They move the ball at least.
Yeah.
But something tells me he's just not all into it like he usually is. I mean, he's got nothing to play for. No 2,000-yard seasons, nothing like that. So if they get behind a little bit, which we're assuming they will in Seattle, I'll just say he has a down game, maybe like 60 yards rushing, maybe 20 yards receiving, and no touchdowns. I'll go throw it out there.
I think he has to call Barry Sanders and find out what it's like to be an awesome running back that never has anything to play for. Because, I mean, there was nobody better that was always on a losing team than Barry. You look forward to Thanksgiving because of it.
Oh, my God, yeah.
You did.
I was so disappointed when he retired because he could have played,
At least 2 more years.
at least 2 or 3 years.
So great.
All right, my dud wide receiver this week, Demaryius Thomas. Really based upon what you said earlier in the
Down
game.
too, as a guy.
I mean, there are 4 guys, all sharing, Manning's love. And, it's going to be a tough game, I think, because you're going to see Manning have to get the ball off quickly in the passing game. I think he's going to throw the ball underneath a lot to Welker. I think you're going to see a lot of Marino.
Yep.
I don't see Thomas having a big game against Kansas City.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, I like Demaryius Thomas to struggle. I also like Keenan Allen to have a tough time today. I just think that the Dolphin defense will, limit him a little bit on the outside. He didn't have a good game last week. Phillip Rivers always finds a way to, just to screw me whenever I think something's going to go wrong with him. And he might do it again today. I just think that I think it's a tough matchup for
The Dolphins have stopped the pass pretty well this year. Last week, the Tampa could move the ball, they moved it on the ground against them, but didn't throw the ball. So I like that one. I'm going to go with Jordan Nelson. I just don't like the combo. I'd rather have Boykins than Nelson this week because I think at least the practice squad time, they were playing together.
I agree with that. I don't like either one of them really this week.
And
No, I agree with you. I agree with both of you. I think it's a good pick.
so I also have Riley Cooper down as a dud, too, because he's just been too hot. I'm hoping he's not.
It's got to end somewhere, right? Well, hopefully
At
not
some
this
point,
week.
he's going to stop getting 2 touchdowns a week.
But hopefully it's not this week.
What you can do is be a racist, and you can start really tearing it up in this league.
There you go. My tight end is Greg Olson this week. Just not expecting a big game out of him.
No, I have Pettigrew on the Lions this week. I don't think he's a great contact, physical tight end for his size. I think
He's a
once he gets-
monster. He should be
Yeah,
really
I
good.
know.
He
And
should
the
be.
thing about him, I feel like when he gets hit early in the game, he sometimes disappears. And I think Polamalu hit him a little bit early. And again, it's not like Troy Polamalu is the same guy he was 3 years ago. He's not that good.
No.
But I think he still hits hard enough, and I think that could throw Pettigrew off a little bit.
I like Olsen, too. The Patriots haven't really given up much to the tight ends
No,
all
they
year,
haven't.
so I like that one. I'm going to go with Gates as a dud. He's slowed down this year. He was hot early. But again, I like Miami's defense is playing good. They got good active linebackers, so I'll say Gates is my dud this week.
All right, sleepers. My quarterback sleeper this week is Casey Keenum.
Or Case, either one.
Case Keenum.
Sounds better. Casey Keenum sounds better.
Against Oakland. He's played pretty well. They've certainly played better with him over Matt Schaub because that was just a disaster. But
That was a pick six every week.
yeah. I just don't think. or rather, I do think that he's going to have a pretty good game this week against Oakland. Certainly worth starting against the Raiders. I see him throwing up a couple of touchdowns and having a pretty decent game as a sleeper.
I like Keenum as well. I'm going to go with Alex Smith to kind of light the lamp a little bit, throw the ball downfield. I think he'll get a couple touchdowns for you if you have to play him. I think that, the Chiefs can't win this game by being conservative today.
No.
The only chance that they have, and Andy Reid's an offensive guy.
Yeah.
He'll throw the ball down.
Well, this will be really the first time Alex Smith has had to win a game for them.
Yeah.
Because they'll key on Charles. They have to. And he's been done nothing. He's been, not losing games for him, but this will be the week, like you said.
He's got
to
to
step up.
If they have any chance of winning that game, he's got to step up.
And I'll go with Mike Glennon. I like Keenum too a little bit, but I'll go with Glennon. Atlanta's dead in the water at this point, and they need to win some games. Well, Shiano's gone anyway, probably, because everybody hates him, but they won their first game last year. I think they continue to roll with that, and I'll go with Glennon.
All right, my sleeper running back, if this guy even qualifies after last week's performance as a sleeper, is Andre Brown today against Green Bay. I mean, they threw him right back in with 30 carries last week. He rushed for 100 yards, or I forget exactly how many yards he rushed for, but had a great game.
He played well.
The Packers are allowing more than 100 rushing yards a week in the last 3 consecutive games. I don't see why Brown should have a bad game against them.
I like Brown as well. I'm going to go with Vereen. I think that Shane has a good game.
That's a nice sleeper pick.
I think he's a guy that'll catch a few balls out of the backfield. I think that I know that, Ridley's played well, but I think Vereen will take the spot back over the next week or two.
In a point per reception league, I think you start Vereen. Otherwise, I'm not so sure. Because of the carries, is he going to get? Is he just coming in on third
I don't think he's
down?
going to get a ton of carries.
Yeah, right. Definitely in a PPR, though.
I think he'll be the drop-off guy as their defense really focuses on trying to stop
That's a good
Gronk.
point.
I'm going to go with Ben Tate. Just he's still banged up a little bit, but
Yeah, he's got the ribs.
Johnson, the backup Johnson, he's not a player.
Nah.
So I think they should be ahead of the Raiders for the most part with McGloin out there. It could be really ugly.
You may not even watch the Sunday
I'll
night
watch a
game.
first set of downs. Right off. Goodbye.
Go right to the same.
The same game.
Where's our
You
good
can't-
buddy Dennis today?
Yeah, Dennis is. He
I
has to
think
agree
Dennis
with
is
me.
in hiding this week.
I mean, Dennis is a big Raider fan like myself, and he saw McGloin play against Eagles. All it was check down to Jennings and then they got a pass interference call. He gets down there. So when you get inside the 10, you can be a little tougher quarterback and throw fades into the corner.
Right.
But otherwise, the guy didn't even look downfield. It's going to be ugly.
It is going to be ugly.
He couldn't throw at Penn State.
Nah, he was terrible there.
All right, my sleeper this week, the much anticipated return of Percy Harvin against the
You've
Vikings.
been waiting 10 weeks to pick him as your
Hey,
wide receiver.
you know what? This is the week. I mean, he's going to be on a limited snap count, but he's playing against the horrible Minnesota defense,
His former team.
which is allowing 285 yards a game and 2 or 3 touchdowns a game to wide receivers. He's going to be motivated to play against his former team. He could have a bust-out debut, or maybe not. But
They said 10 to 15 snaps. That's not a lot of snaps.
yeah, but I think he'll get at least 15 and.
Coming on third down, probably.
Yeah, but I think they'll look for him. I think he'll have a pretty good game as a sleeper.
There's a couple of receivers I like. I like DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm going to go with Dwayne Bowe.
Wow.
I figure,
Straight off the arrest.
right off the arrest. If I'm gonna pick
I can't
somebody-
believe he's even playing. But
Yeah, it's
You
surprising
gotta
that he's
love
playing.
the way the NFL works.
It's
Alvin
amazing.
Smith, they all play. They all play now. They all make it illegal because of the collective bargaining agreement. They really
well, that's
can't
the
do
thing.
anything. to
They
these
can't
guys.
do anything.
It's like almost like being in real court. Unless you're proved guilty, you can play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Bo is,
It's like the mayor up in Toronto.
that guy's the best.
Yeah.
I tell you right
He
now.
spits in everybody's eye. Doesn't
This
care.
guy gets on national television and says, "Yes, I smoke crack," and they still can't do anything.
He spits in their eye. It's hysterical. And the people of Toronto, unlike any place here in the United States, they really get sensitive about the fact that their city looks bad.
Did you
For
guys
us,
see-
it's just
Yeah,
be
yeah.
ripping the guy.
Did
They
you
feel
guys
like
see
protecting
Saturday
the
Night Live
city.
last night?
I did not.
They did a great skit on him, man. It was so funny.
I like anybody that's fat and in power.
I saw a couple. I watch Letterman where I tape it when I'm not home, and they've been killing the guy the whole week.
And he
God.
deserves it. He deserves
He's
I'm
such
gonna-
an easy target, though.
I'm gonna go with Bo off the arrest.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I have Boykin listed down, but I also like Ruben Randall because he's been Manning's guy at least for the red zone. He's been throwing it to him, so I like him. But I kind of like Boykin, just the fact that they were both on the practice squad together, and he's going to look for him. And he did look for him last week, when they were playing the Eagles. So.
All right, my tight end sleeper this week. It's a pretty deep sleeper, but
I like the same guy as you.
all right.
So
Well, you know
I
what?
think
If you're looking for a replacement possibly for Witten this week, Mercedes Lewis is a guy you want to look at. We've talked about how good the Cardinals defense has been, but they've allowed the most points to fantasy tight ends this year, and a league high 9 touchdowns to tight ends. So could be a guy that could have a good game. If you're looking for somebody to plug in for Witten this week.
Yeah, you want to go back 11 weeks and remember Jared Cook's only good game of the year against these Cardinals. I'm going to go in the same game the other way. I'm going to go Rob Hausler to have a good game against Jacksonville. I just think that Palmer will be upright and he'll be able to utilize all his weapons today. I think Fitzgerald has a nice game. I think that Ellington plays well. I think Hausler might catch a few and get a touchdown. Again, if you're in a league where you have a brutal matchup, with your tight end, or if you have Witten and happens to be on a bye, that's the way I would go.
Yeah.
I like that one. I'm going to go with John Carlson, Ponda's new go-to guy.
You know what? I picked him up this week because of Witten.
He gets a ton of targets. He's really throwing the ball to him a lot.
Yeah.
And I expect him to be behind, Ponda running for his life and throwing little check downs to Carlson.
And he loves to check down.
He does. Or run with it and get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? The funny thing is, though, the offense looks a lot better when he's in it.
It does.
I mean, and that's a bad. And he looked bad last year. I remember saying, "How's this team in the playoffs when they played the Packers in the playoffs?"
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, he doesn't play badly for a guy I didn't think was very good coming out of college.
Yeah. All right, waiver wire. If you're looking for some last-minute pickups, not many quarterbacks out there worth talking about. I mean, we talked about Fitzpatrick. I wouldn't touch him.
I guess McCown.
Maybe McCown.
McCown,
And
Alex Smith is a
in
guy
that
you can
weather
look
this
at.
week, I don't like McCown. Alex Smith, maybe.
I'm just saying that they're going to have to throw the ball to win a couple of these games here in the AFC West. The easy part of the schedule is over for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I guess Glennon, if Glennon's still out there, he's
Right.
a possible guy.
Yeah, there are a
4
lot of
touchdowns and 1 pick in his last 3 games. I mean, he's not turning the ball over.
there are a lot of quarterbacks that are out though. With Cutler out and Rodgers, and you might have to dig a little
Slim
deep.
Pickens.
Slim Pickens out there.
Absolutely.
Running backs, Andre Brown, is an obvious pickup if he's out there. It's an interesting situation down in Tampa.
The two-headed monster.
The two-headed, monster.
Well, not so much
Of
monster.
Brian Leonard and
Two-headed
Bobby
fairies.
Rainey.
Leonard ran hard last week.
He did. He ran
and
really
he played
hard.
for Schiano in college.
That's the kid.
And Schiano's going to trust him.
Yeah.
And he catches the ball very well. He picks up the blitz very well. He'll get more. He'll
But-
be in the game more than Rainey will be.
But Rainey looked more explosive.
Well, he is more explosive.
I mean, he's definitely more explosive.
Well,
than,
Leonard's really a fullback.
yeah.
He came up as a fullback, so he's not really a halfback. But
I think right now you're going to see probably a pretty even split between those two
I
guys.
think Leonard will be in the game more.
Do you?
I do. I think that Leonard picks up the blitz better. He's a little bit bigger, and I think that Schiano trusts him.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I think. And there's no real basis that he's better. I mean, he's been in the league 6-7 years.
got more experience.
Hasn't done much.
Yeah.
But it was a stud at Rutgers. He was like their first star.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
if you
think
wanna call him a star.
I think the Schiano factor is huge for that one.
That is
I think
huge.
Rainey gets maybe 10 carries today, but everything else is going to be Leonard. I really think
And
so.
I don't think they want
At least
Leonard
for
throwing
this
the ball
week.
30
For this
times.
week.
For
Yeah,
this
you got to
week.
see what happens.
Yeah, I think Rainey's going to earn some more playing time, but the Schiano factor is definitely going to be in play this week.
And I
for
think
sure.
goal line is going to go to the fullback. Also, to go with the Commanders theory of who gets the ball close to the goal line.
Right.
I mean, I think that you're going to go with the bigger back close to the goal line.
Okay. All right, Ben Tate, we talked about a little bit. He's probably a guy that, I would start, regardless of the injury.
Maybe Pierce on the Ravens. If
Yeah.
they're not going to, if Ray Rice isn't running the ball well, they're not going to keep him in there.
I don't know what's up
So
with Ray
I don't know what's
Rice.
going on. It's like the same thing with him and Trent Richardson. I don't know what happened to these guys. They just fell off.
No,
Yeah.
you're right.
So
Wide receivers, you've got a couple to pick up this week with Rashard Matthews, Riley Cooper, who may or may not still be out there in
If
your
he's
league.
still out there after these last 2 weeks, there's something amazing going on.
that's a 14 league right
Listen,
there.
I picked him up in 2 leagues this week, so I was able to get him. Yeah,
I don't know how you
Amazing.
I was able to get him in 2
Sleep
leagues.
at the wheel, these guys.
Guys to look at, 49ers, Manningham back now.
Yeah.
Someone to think about. Roberts on the Cardinals.
He scored last week.
He scored
yeah.
last week. Floyd's been banged up. Not saying he won't play, but Roberts was targeted a ton last week.
You always liked him too.
I
You
do.
always liked him.
I'm a
Soft
fan.
spot there.
It's an emotional pick
Yeah,
for me. No.
Listen, Crabtree might be a
And that was the other thing I was
flyer.
going to say is now it's time, if you think you're in the playoffs, now it's time to look at your Week 14 matchups.
See, but that's the
Try
problem.
to win first round.
That's
Pick
the
guys
problem
a
with
couple weeks early.
Yeah, but that's the problem with Crabtree. I don't like his matchups in the playoff weeks, but a guy that is certainly worth taking a flyer on.
A couple of guys I had was Tavon Austin, who had his
Tavon
breakout
Austin,
game.
absolutely.
He's worthy of picking up. And Aaron Dobson has now
Yes.
been. Tompkins has disappeared from the team.
Yes.
Dobson's he doesn't have the dropsies anymore.
Yeah.
Just like that. Boom,
Yep.
No,
overnight.
and the kid on the opposite end in Baltimore, was it
Marlon
Marlon
Brown?
Yeah.
Is another guy to look at.
a little banged up, I think.
I mean,
don't know
today
what's
may
going
not
on.
be the week,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying he's a guy that
No, he looks good.
Definitely give you some depth.
Torrey Smith's the number one guy, but to have that guy on the other side that could get the 7 or 8 targets,
Yeah.
and could get into the end zone is something that not
No
to look
question.
past.
Yeah.
A couple of tight ends that we talked about already. Your guy Chandler, your guy Carlson.
They're both huge.
Yeah.
They're big guys. They're
big
6'6",
guys.
6'7" guys that get open.
You know.
Neither one's gonna burn you with speed.
Yeah.
But safeties just can't get around these guys.
But you know what? If I have Whitman, I'm desperate for a tight end this week. I'm going in that direction with either one of those guys.
Delaney Walker was another guy.
And Delaney Walker.
He
He's
killed me
just
in time.
good.
He is good.
He always is, even with
He
the
was
49ers.
good with the 49ers.
Absolutely.
They didn't really use him in the early part of the season.
He started as a fullback. He kept gaining weight. They moved him to tight end.
Looks good in the tight end unit.
Absolutely, it's great at tight end.
Yeah. So let's talk about some sit starts. Russell Wilson, a guy that you love this week.
Yeah, I think he has a big day.
I like him a lot too this week. He's on a roll. He gets Harvin back this week. Not to mention that Tate and Baldwin and even Curse are playing well. He's got a lot of targets. I like Wilson.
I like Wilson too. I like Eli to start this week. I think Eli's going to have a decent game.
Eli
against
can
the
have a
Bag.
decent game.
I've said this like 4 times. He's never done it. I'm sorry, Mike.
You know what?
Yeah, Admiral, my mistake. But
Now, you know what? Eli's not a bad play this week, and he's an even better play next week against Dallas.
well, Dallas has nobody back.
Oh, God, that's going to be hopefully a big game for. I
If
actually
the
have.
Giants win today, that's a
I
huge
have
game
both
next
of those
week.
guys in one of my leagues. I have Wilson and Manning. We've got Wilson on the bye next week, and
you have
I
to use him.
actually have Manning just for that week because I know he's going to have a pretty good game.
I have him starting this week as well because I have Romo and Manning in one of my leagues. And this is the game I have to play Eli.
Right.
And here I am. I
Wow.
played him once early in the season.
Don't watch the game. Don't watch it.
I won't be watching
Yeah.
the game, thank God.
Just look for the bottom line and see what's
Please.
going on there.
Show me 240 yards and 2 touchdowns and I'll smile.
All right, a guy you might want to sit this week, Phillip Rivers against Miami. Rivers has kind of cooled off a little bit the last couple of weeks. I think it's going to be a game where San Diego runs the ball a little bit more. The Dolphins' defense has been pretty good. I think Breeze
Could
is
be a
the-
low-scoring game.
Yeah, I think Breeze is the only one that really had a great game against that defense. Every other quarterback, Locke, Ryan,
And that was at
Brady,
home.
Dalton,
That was at home in New Orleans where everybody.
they've done a good job.
you know.
So I don't like Rivers this week.
Yeah, I like that one. I like Tannehill as a sleeper this week, as for a start. San Diego on the road is not as good, so I'm going to say he has a nice game this week.
Yeah, he could. Who do
looking
you
at-
not like?
Who do I not like? I don't know. I don't like Matt Ryan, but I don't want to say it on the air because I'm going against him today.
Well, you just did.
Yeah. I did, but I'm going against him, and it's a big game, so I'm hoping he stinks.
I don't like Kaepernick this week. He's going to have to show me something. Before
I haven't
think
liked him
he
all
does.
year.
He's going to have to show me something before I think I'm going to go out and play him. He'd be a guy I wouldn't necessarily start unless I had to.
And Loveyhead, by the way, went with Porterhouse. He's going with Spiller.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. He's looking for the home run. He said he's looking for the home run.
All right, I got a guy to start this week that you're going to disagree with. In fact, I think you already have. Chris Ivory against Buffalo this week.
From your mouth to God's ears. I'm hoping you're right.
Listen, I know what the defense is going to try to do, okay? But the Jets are not going to win that game with Geno Smith throwing the ball. They're going to have to try to establish the run. I think that the Buffalo defense against the run isn't fantastic, and I think they're going to try to get Ivory at least 20 carries this week. I think he's going to have a pretty good game. He had the monster game against New Orleans. I don't know if that was just because it was against his former team or not, But I like him this week.
Well, everybody runs on the Saints too. So.
And New Orleans away from home is a very different team. Now, if you remember the first time these two teams played, they won because of Geno's arm. San Antonio at 5 for 146 in the score.
Listen,
Stephen Hill caught one in the
this
air.
is a tough game for
Are
the
they
for
even
the
playing?
Jets.
Either one of those guys playing?
Both are supposed to be playing.
Yeah,
San Antonio, they dusted him off. He might want to show up. I mean, you never met a player that acts like he doesn't want to play more than San Antonio. Everybody says you're good to go. I don't know. You know.
Maybe one more week.
Sounds like my father after he got home from work when I was a kid. I'm tired, leave me alone. I mean, he just seems like he's bothered. I hope that Ivory has a good game. I mean, my guy to be the guy I definitely start is No Jean Marino. I think that Marino has a big day.
I like him this week.
Marino's a start.
I like Gore too against New Orleans.
Yeah.
You know, they have to establish the run in that game, keep Breeze on the sideline.
Yeah.
You know, so Gore should have a nice game too.
Unless New Orleans gets out front early.
But he'll still be in the game though. They're
He'll
not
still be in
gonna
the
take
game,
him,
but
Harbaugh will dig down in. I mean, the thing is, there's certain coaches that get it. When you're down 14-0 in the first quarter, you don't have to throw.
Right,
Harbaugh's one of those guys.
Doesn't
you can still
matter.
run. All you need is a score. You
Yeah,
know, right?
yeah, I don't-
These
a lot of
coaches
these
go
teams, yeah.
crazy. Like if they're down 10-3,
They never run it again.
yeah, I mean, as long as you're within, two touchdowns or two possessions
in the first half, I think that you're always in the game.
Yeah.
Until it's 35-0.
Right.
In the fourth quarter or something, then they don't run the ball.
But run the ball. I mean, Chuck Noll, it's going way back. He used to sit there and they'd be down 7 in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes ago. He's still running the ball. Still running trap runs.
Yeah.
And picking up 6 yards a pop, just running the 4-minute offense on the ground. There's nothing wrong with it. It works.
And we should actually jot that stuff down because it happens almost every week. These teams get behind
pathetic,
and they just throw every down, 3 and out, interceptions.
Yeah.
Watching the
Again,
Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Tressman.
All right, running backs to sit this week. I already talked about Spiller. I don't like him this week. I know you're a little higher on him than.
No, I'm not really high on him.
Well,
I have him
than
as a sit
Fred
too.
Jackson at least. But
I have him as a sit too. I'd also have
Yeah.
Fred Jackson as a sit. I don't think either one of those. I think that Darren Sproles is a sit this week. I think he had a good game last week. I think that it's Pierre Thomas's turn.
Mark Ingram as well.
yeah,
Mark Ingram, right?
don't be
Mark
fooled.
Ingram's going to get a contract from somebody off last week's game against a bad Cowboy run defense. Someone's going to give him a lot of money next year and realize that he can never play.
He's bad. He did have some juice, though. I was surprised to
He'll
see
be
him
the
moving as
Giants
fast
starting
as
running
he
back.
Oh, don't even. Don't even.
The Raiders will take him.
Don't
Go
even.
Giants.
All right.
He's a legacy.
A wide receiver I really like this week, Torrey Smith at Chicago. Even with the weather being a factor,
The best corners out.
Well, that's the thing.
Marshall gone.
Tillman.
Gone.
Tillman out.
Same
Flacco, as you said, can throw it through a wall. I like Torrey Smith this week. I think he gets double-digit targets and winds up with probably 8 or 9 catches and
I agree
a
with
pretty
you.
good game.
I think DeAndre Hopkins has a big game this week. I think DeAndre is the kind of guy that you could start as a flex player this week. I think that the Raiders have trouble covering the second receiver. Ask Riley Cooper.
Or the first one.
Well, the first one they do a slightly better job on. Deshaun Jackson only lit him up for a little bit a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think that Hopkins will find himself open all day, and I honestly don't think that the Texans want to run the ball. I think they want to throw it around the yard. They let Case Keenum throw it all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like Vincent Jackson. The Falcons have given up 2 touchdown passes in every game this season, so you have to assume he's going to get one of them.
Yeah.
If they do that.
Yeah, I like them too. All right, a wide receiver to sit this week is Roddy White. I mean, you know what?
The whole year.
The guy misses 3 games. He comes back with 1 catch for 20 yards, only 4 targets, despite playing in 55 snaps. 4 targets. No touchdowns this year. No games with over 50 yards receiving. And this week he wears the blanket of Darrelle Revis.
Yeah, no, it's a tough matchup for Roddy this week. A guy to sit this week. I talked about Keenan Allen already. I mean, it might be tough to sit though because he's been such a premier player for people. I also agree that Demaryius Thomas doesn't have a big game this week. I would also have a tendency to believe that Mike Wallace will have a pretty brutal game for the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. I think that they're gonna go to the slot guys.
Listen, he's been a big disappointment.
Well, Matthews.
He really has.
Matthews. No, I think we're talking about the slot
Yeah.
guys and the tight ends will have the bigger game, even the running backs out of the backfield.
Yeah, Riley Cooper, I was saying the bubble might burst this week. Well, hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see what happens.
I think he lasts one more week against
Maybe.
Washington.
I'm hoping he does, but
All right, my tight end big star of the week is, I talked about him a little bit earlier, but Jordan Reed. He's playing really, really well right now. Love the matchup. I actually have him started in the flex position in a league where I have Jimmy Graham at tight end. I'm
I did the
starting
same
him
thing.
It's a smart move.
in the flex position, and I would do that, over, even a guy like Ray Rice or Trent Richardson or,
Absolutely.
You know,
definitely Trent Richardson.
yeah, without question. I mean,
Even a marginal wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like Emmanuel Sanders,
Yeah.
I would start him over him. Guys like that,
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Eddie Royals kind of guys.
Yeah.
Wayne Bowes, the guys that
Yeah,
you drafted somewhat
definitely.
high to have another thing.
have another thing.
I did that 2 weeks in a row. Started him as my
too.
flex.
Too.
It's
Yeah,
a great
so-
it's a great move. Tight end for me again. We talked about Mercedes Lewis as a guy I like. Scott Chandler's a guy I like. Either one of those guys to me, I think Chandler's a definite start. I think that he'll be open all day.
And
against
Carlson.
my Porterhouse Jets.
Yeah.
And I like him. Hausler, you mentioned, I like him. Carlson, I like, and I like Cameron to finally bounce back and show that what the tight end he was early in this year.
Yeah. Guy worth city this week is probably Heath Miller. He's been struggling. Last week, 1 catch for 6 yards on only 5 targets.
And he was Big Ben's guy. I
Was.
don't know what happened. He's really not anymore.
They
And
were
you know
just
what?
dominating the Bills last week so much they barely threw.
And the Lions are tough on tight ends. They've only given up one touchdown all year to a tight end.
So the cornerbacks do a good job of letting the receivers get open.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, whatever it is, it is.
Oh, there was a comment, by the way, that if you picked up Riley Cooper, you must be in the kids league.
Who said that?
On the bottom it says kids league. It must have been the Riley Cooper comment.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what it was? I mean, Cooper had that huge game, but a lot of guys thought it was a
Fluke,
it was a fluke, and did not pick him up. And
Unless you think you're unbelievably established with your wide receivers, when you see somebody score 2 touchdowns, let alone 3.
2 of these leagues I'm in are so cutthroat. If a guy sniffs the goal line, he gets picked up. Forget about even
I
scoring.
know.
So, guy
All
like
right.
that.
Anybody else, guys?
No, I think I'm covered. Got anything,
right.
Commander?
No, that's it.
Redskins win this week. Redskins beat the
That's
Eagles.
your lock of the week. Okay.
I had a bell, I'd ring it.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Woo! There's my bell. Ready to roll.
All right, let's get into our a quick recap of our head-to-head competition.
Do you think he does the math right? Tell me the truth, Commander.
I'm not double checking it. So.
Listen,
Feel free, fellas. Feel free. In fact, I'll hand over those duties to either one of you guys.
No,
Somehow, some way.
Feel free.
I
Feel
still
free.
hold a one.
They
game
always
lead
say
against
this on the week that the Admiral wins 2 games, which happen to happen this week. But listen, I got big performances this week out of Drew Brees,
he was the leading
Brandon
scorer.
Marshall, A.J. Green with that last-minute touchdown.
That won it for
Forced me
you.
the win.
153 points for the Admiral this week.
We didn't really talk about that play, that
Yeah.
fluke play, but
Porterhouse, 148. You were close.
I was close. Victor Cruz did nothing for me, and neither did Witten and
Yeah.
Vinatieri.
Vinatieri with a goose egg. For
yeah, you can't get
You
0
don't
from your
expect you
kicking.
kicking out the score.
You had a nice week. You just had, you had the
Bad
Hail Mary,
luck.
you had the Hail Mary, and you had the 0 from your kicker. You can't.
Right, and you had a rough week, Commander. I mean, and
Nothing
that's
ever
been
goes right for you,
dude.
it
that's
is.
been your story all season. I mean, you're just it's bad luck
Vernon
week
Davis,
after week.
a second into the game.
Vernon Davis,
Out.
Worst game of the year for Des Bryant
Des
by
Bryant,
far.
5 points.
And 2
Lacey,
targets.
10 points.
Des
Phil-
Bryant had 2 targets. They're down by 30. He
You
has
had
2
Philip
targets.
Rivers
As
with
much
15
as you
points.
like or do not like Matthew Stafford, at least he's smart enough to know to throw it
Yeah,
up the
just
Calvin
throw the
Johnson.
ball to him. And then, Philip Rivers, you guys picked a better quarterbacks next week, but I thought Rivers against Denver at home, Denver's been horrible on the road. He didn't do anything.
Yeah. All right. So the standings right now: Porterhouse at 13-7. I am a game behind at 12-8.
Trying to hold on like for dear life here.
Commander.
I need a heavy recap.
SOS, save our
Yeah.
ship. 6-14.
You got to win the next 3 weeks here. Just
really
to get yourself
do.
into the hunt.
Well, this week, you know what? You've got a good chance. You've got Manning. You got
Anytime
Lynch.
you have Manning, you have a good shot.
I like
It's
Lynch
his
a
worst
lot
matchup,
this
though.
week. I
I
like
like Gore a lot.
I
this
like
week.
Gore. Marshall, I don't know with the weather.
I picked Thomas. After we did the draft, I'm like, I shouldn't have taken him. I
Yeah, I'm
should've
not
taken
loving
Welker.
Thomas this
Should
week.
have taken Welker.
But you do have Graham and Bush.
And Hauska. I have the best kicker.
Yeah, you have the best kicker. I really was going to take him early. I chose.
If I had to do it over again, I would have taken Welker instead of Thomas.
If I had to do
Okay.
it over again, I wouldn't have picked the kicker in 60-degree weather.
Yes.
60-mile-an-hour winds,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You have Wilson this week, who I like. You have Charles, who I always like. Ray Rice, a little sketchy.
I'm taking a shot.
A little sketchy. But I love your receivers this week. You have Garcon and Torrey Smith. and
Yates is
Antonio
up in- he's,
Brown, which,
You
Again,
went for
with
a
the
couple of
weather.
reaches
Again,
this
with the
week.
weather.
Yeah,
more
you try to
reaches.
keep it exciting.
yeah.
We went against each other, head up on the defenses. I got the Jet, you got the Bills.
I took the Giants.
I kind of like my team this week, even with a couple of reaches. I like Foles this week to
But you got the
continue.
Eagles. You got the entire Eagle.
love your
organization.
Eagles.
I love my Eagles this week. You know, Foles, McCoy. I've got
Deshaun.
Andre Brown.
Sean Jackson, that is, right?
Yep.
I have
He's
Deshaun
going-
Jackson. I went Eagle
Wow.
heavy. I went Eagle heavy.
For like the 5th time, and
Yeah.
and Akers is a former Eagle, just to make sure you had it
Just
covered.
yeah, right. I like my receivers this week. I have Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson, Gronkowski at tight end, and just Sean Jackson as my flex. So could be an interesting week head to head, fellas.
I think it's your first team that you've had more than a couple of reaches. You
Yeah.
have a lot of reaches on this. So if you win
Yeah.
this week, you deserve it.
All right,
But
guys.
we're all doing a little bit better with that.
Any bold predictions before we sign off?
I think the Broncos will win, but in a game that's going to be closer than people think. I think an 8-point spread's a bit high against a 9-0 team, and I think the Skins win. Those are my 2 predictions.
Okay.
You could see me jogging on the LIE today if Riley Cooper scores 2 more touchdowns. So just look out for the news channel today.
Jogging naked, no less.
Streaking.
You know what? I like the Bills today. I think the Jets are going to have a tough time of it.
You always say that against the Jets.
And I'm going to go with the other New York team, and talking about all 3 New York teams, and say that the Giants blow out the Packers this week.
Blowout.
Blowout.
What does that mean, by more than 4 points?
Blowout. No, I think they're going to win by
2-minute drill at the end.
at least 2 touchdowns they win by this week. So
So you think you're going to beat the quarterback you never heard of?
I don't
last
care
week?
who's playing on the other side of the ball. I think the Giants' offense is finally going to click this week. So it's going to be a high-scoring affair out in the Meadowlands. All right. Anything else, guys?
That's it.
Again, happy birthday and thanks to the lovely Christine in the box over there. And we'll see you next week, guys, on Fantasy Football Code Red on enravio.com.